So today we're talking about inconspicuous humiliation. What is inconspicuous humiliation?
Um, Inconspicuous humiliation is a term that I've coined in the face of, how people who work, for the system, uh, how they operate, how they follow these protocols that basically they elude criminal elements and they elude human rights violations just by a thin fucking thread.
So there's a thin veneer between human rights violations and criminal elements and the way that they operate in the system.
And they get away with it. They get away with it because they're just a bit shy of actually violating or a bit shy of actually doing something criminal. And humiliating somebody isn't illegal, and humiliating somebody isn't a human rights violation.
Well, in some cases, you could say that humiliation that leads to other things is the precursor to worse
Getting there.
to worse things. And in this case, where do they draw the line?
Well, there's four major filters that they use,
Okay.
right, for them. So of the four is ethics and protocol,
Okay.
professionalism, power imbalancement, and then the last one, which is the most important, deficit space.
Okay, that's interesting. So there's four categories that they
That they
embody.
hide behind, basically,
Okay.
right, and say we're doing this in order to you know maintain your humanity. Because I was talking to one of them about it, and they're like, these things are in place to make sure we humanize you. And I'm like, buddy, you know, everybody that's in this fucking building doesn't want to be here. Like, not even the staff that get to go home at night want to be here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me what you have in place is humanizing anybody if two kids committed suicide.
Right. And this did happen. All right. Well, let's start with the first one that you named.
So that's protocol and ethics. So the protocol and ethics is what these fucking, philosopher kings, dictate is fucking proper for these niggas to do and not to do. Simply put, right? The rule book, thou shall not, thou shall this. You know what I mean? All of that, ray, thou shall not fuck a patient, thou shall not have love for a patient, thou shall not show emotion to a patient, thou shall not, you know what I mean? All the lands telling them what they can't do and how to do it,
Okay.
right? So, and that's the big thing. Besides the thou shall nots, that's one thing. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yes, you know what? It's not a good idea for a fucking psychiatrist to fucking pound the shit out of his patient, right?
Right.
Okay, I get that, but the fucking protocol, right? In one instance, they will say to you, everybody's different. And then in another instance, they'll say that everybody's the same. It can't be both dynamics at the same time. It can't be everybody's the same and different at the same time.
Well, let me jump in and argue that.
But no, you're gonna get like existential metaphysical. That's not where it's at here.
Okay.
It's not in that dimension. This is on a dimension where these niggas are saying, you know, everybody has equal rights, everybody has this, that, or whatever, but at the same time everybody's different. You can't say life is not fair and everybody's equal. Because if everybody's equal, that means they have access and right to exactly the same thing that everybody else does. That's the dimension that I'm on. I'm not going any further than that when it comes to these motherfuckers, because I know where they're talking, and that's the game they play, that very bad game. I know what you mean. So, you know, individualization of, you know, the boundaries and parameters that
So this is the next category?
This is still part of, because ethics and protocol is twofold.
Okay.
Right, so the ethics was the thou shall not.
Right.
This is the protocol. So the protocol is the thou shall not. This is the ethics.
Okay.
Right. The ethics dictates the
individualism versus collectivism?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they're saying we have a standardized model called psychosocial rehab, and we use it on everybody across the board. No matter who the fuck you are, you could be from fucking Jupiter. We're gonna put you into that fucking model.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Everybody, one size fits all.
Right.
That's how they operate. Right? And they think they're doing somebody a service by putting them under that, you know, that model. Right?
Right.
Which is stupid, because it's just like man, look how long it took them to figure out that standardized testing in fucking elementary school and high school was stupid.
Right.
And these niggas in psychology haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
Right? So that's your ethics and protocol, or protocol and ethics. Right?
Okay.
Your thou shall not, and your standardization of everybody.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So in that sense, everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
With your psychosocial rehab model.
Okay.
Right? You're under it, I'm under it, he's under it, she's under it, we're all under it.
Right.
That's the working analysis. When like, okay, so like in your chart, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they write about you about the fucking day, they go data, assessment, plan.
Okay.
Every fucking time they write.
Right.
Data, so the data's like, you know, James was eating a sandwich. Well, you know, he seemed kind of aggressively biting into the sandwich and seemed kind of angry, and then slurped his milk.
Okay.
Plan. Next time we'll get him a butter knife.
Okay.
Right?
Sure. Seems logical.
But that's how they're dealing with everybody.
Logically?
Across the board, with that data, assessment, and plan.
Okay.
Right? It seems universal enough, but really it's not.
Because every nurse is different.
And every patient is different. So that's two, and then the doctor reads it, and that's another perspective. So that's three perspectives.
Right.
Right? And then they're gonna take pieces of that out of your chart and put it into your fucking board report, because your board report's a composite document. And now you got 5 more niggas looking at it. Right? The board. So that's 8 perspectives on one subject that's been standardized. It's been stripped of individuality and basically packaged to fit a fucking scenario. You wanna know what that scenario is?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we did ethics and protocol, professionalism.
Okay.
Professionalism is almost the most nefarious element of all of this. Because in there, you know the definition of professionalism, right?
Sure.
Right, so we don't even have to get into that. We'll just get right into it right away then. Professionalism in these niggas' eyes basically gives them the license to kill.
Okay.
They will fucking slaughter you with their expertise or their expert opinion in their particular field and act as if their particular field overstands, I know you hate that word, but follow me for a minute, overstands your whole entire life. Even if it's just a recreational therapist who has no fucking bearing on psychology, they'll write a report and be like, you know, I feel that Mr. Easton is completely out of it in my professional opinion. I feel that Mr. Easton is lacking the ability to do such and such and ray.
Right.
You're not a fucking doctor. You're not even a fucking nurse. How is your professional opinion holding this much weight with the fucking clinical team? Who the fuck are you? Bro, you played basketball in a you went to fucking school to show people how to play basketball and fucking 21, and now you're gonna write a fucking 12-page document on my fucking behavior? Who gave you that fucking power when your degree doesn't even extend that far to begin with?
The damn hospital.
Right? So then what do you say? Well, why is this professionalism extended? Because it goes right into power imbalancement.
Right.
Right? That power imbalancement is, I'm a professional, you're a patient, and because of that, you are actually, and they don't hide it, they're outright about it, you're below me. I'm an authority figure and you have to obey my authority.
Right.
It's quite, when you look at the fucking doctor, what's the doctor? Judge, jury, and executioner. Right? I'm out in the community, I smoke weed, I gotta sit in front of the doctor, and the doctor gets to decide if I come back to the hospital, lose all my privileges, and get fucking revoked on my on my conditional discharge. That's all on him. That he gets to do all of that.
Right.
Right? Without a care. He's the fucking gatekeeper. He has the fucking key. So he's the fucking crooks of that professionalism in which they're dealing with. And that power imbalancement. Right? You're under my care. Under my care. How do you care for somebody and put them under you? That's not the definition of care. I wasn't under my mother's care when she raised me. My mother cared for me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? There's a big difference for cared for and right, that a lot of people don't see, but that goes right into
Power imbalancement.
power imbalancement. Again, you're getting it. It's very simple, right? So what's the last stage, right? Which is the first. I actually did this in reverse because you know where it starts? It starts with deficit space. You know what deficit space is? The automatic assumption that something is wrong. When they approach you on any level, James, on any level, even if they're about to come and tell you how's your day, in their mind, they're looking for something that is wrong. They're not asking your day to make sure that it was good. They're asking to make sure that it wasn't going wrong. That's the difference. And that's their psychology. That's when they approach you. That's how they're approaching you. They're not when they go, "Oh, how was your day?" Like they're not asking you that to like to see if your day was going good. They're making sure that nothing went wrong, right? And if they go, "So how are you feeling?" Like all of those fucking questions you fucking hate so much. The fucking protocol questions. The fucking, do you have feelings of harming yourself or others? Are you feeling suicidal? How's your mood? How did you sleep? What are your thoughts like? That shit. Yeah. That's all fucking deficit space. The assumption that something is wrong. Because remember, I was talking to that nurse Margaret that was assigned to me for the day, and she's like, "What? They don't ask you these questions every day?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Huh?" And I'm like, you know what? Since you're not here all the time, I'll be kind enough to oblige you. And I answered them, right? It doesn't really bother me because I just fuck with them, right? And they don't know how to fucking remark it, so they just they just assume some dumb shit and write their professional opinion. Back to the professionalism. You see how it works, right? So, like, you know what I mean? When you're talking to these guys, you're talking through 4 fucking walls. Right, so you got 4 walls. You got you on this side of the first wall, and them on the other side of the 4th wall. And I can't tell you how much space is between each wall. So I really can't tell you how much space is between each wall. That I haven't figured out yet. But it's not. It's at least 10 feet.
The way I see it, I don't see it that way. You define 4 characteristics of what was the overall heading?
Inconspicuous humiliation.
Yeah. So right there, inconspicuous is.
Go ask any other patient what that is. Remember we tried to explain it to my boy Kieran? And he didn't get it, and he's probably a little smarter than the rest of them. Not by a lot, not a lot, but he's not the dumbest of the dumb. And it went right over his head. So you know it's inconspicuous. We know that. Like there's no question in that. It's inconspicuous enough to go over the heads of people who are stupid.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
And that's all they need. They don't need it to. People like me and you don't exist very much anymore.
And the second element to that is humiliation, which is what they're doing with all the 4 tenets of what we discussed. They're humiliating us. And what does humiliation do to a person? It makes.
Well, let's define the forms of humiliation, because there's 2 major forms and then like a tertiary third, right?
Okay.
So you have humility.
Yeah.
Humility is when you bring yourself lower.
Sure.
Right? On your own terms.
Right.
Of your own. Thank you. That's the word I was actually going to use. Of your own volition, right? Then you have humiliation. That's when somebody else or something forces you to be brought low, right?
Right.
It's not your option. Like if I fucking humiliate you, you can't stop it.
Sure.
Right? Then the third that I was talking about, the tertiary form, is just simple humbleness or being humble, which could either be, someone has brought you low, or you're in a low status to even a low status to begin with.
Okay.
right?
So,
All three of those are worked on this population, right? Humiliation is the main key. From that humiliation, they will tell you, we are humiliating you so you learn to be humble.
right,
And when you're humble, you will then exercise humility.
right,
You see how it works?
yes,
That's what they do. They humiliate you to the point where you're brought low. So that's your humiliation. That's one form. Then they bring you to the point where you're humble. So you've been brought low, and you're low now. That's the second form. And then from that, they're like, okay, now that you're humble, you will learn how to exercise humility and keep yourself low and bring yourself lower or remain low. That's the third,
okay,
right? Humiliation, humbleness, humility,
okay,
right? But at the end of the day, it's still part of the inconspicuous humiliation.